Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's May 5th, 2026. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event will be recorded. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For everybody who's on Zoom, feel free to put in your name, the position you're looking for. Give us 2 or 3 target companies we may be able to help you with. If you have connections at companies that you can help other people with, let us know who those would be. And then give us your email, your LinkedIn address, your phone, and your city if you'd like. Uh, this is a great way. LinkedIn is all about connecting with other people. That's what we're doing today, connecting with other people. So be sure to save the chat when we're done and connect with everybody else who's on the call today. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. That group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. And I'll tell you about our upcoming program we have coming up this Friday at the end of the session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIT crew. Don't wait until you have an interview to practice your interviewing skills. As they like to say, practice early, practice often. For more information, just go to dallaspitcrew.com. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn on a monthly basis. They rotate through every week. Today, our speaker is Locke Alderson. He's a longtime career consultant and recruiting consultant. He's been a contract recruiter. He's worked for firms as a recruiter full time. And today he's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies that get results. So Locke, thank you very much for being with us, and it's all yours.
Let me share the screen, Jeff. I'll play technical. It's not coming up for some reason, Jeff.
Your email just popped up.
Well, we can close that.
Yeah. Now we see your desktop. There we go.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jeff. Puts up with me on a regular basis. I'm not a real good techie. I've lost it again, Jeff.
Nope, you're still there.
Okay. I'll start. Well, there's a little bit of my bio up there. You can see 43 years in recruiting and industry and having my own recruiting firm, and 24 years, almost 25, in career consulting. Some of that's an overlap, obviously. And during my career, I've had at least 5 times when I've been unemployed, and I am a Christian, and the Lord has helped see me through some of those deep times deep depth times when you're at the bottom of the roller coaster. You see me through going up to the top of the roller coaster as well. One of those times when I was in California and was laid off, my wife was a stay-at-home mom with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old baby, and didn't know what we were going to do. I'd sent out 50 resumes and had 19 interviews, and 16 of those said, no, we don't have a match. 2 of them said, we like you, but we want to look at some other candidates. One of them said, yes, we like you. We're going to make you an offer and bring you to Texas. So they did. And the Lord helped me through those times. And so daily, on a regular basis, I'm in the Bible and in Scripture for words of encouragement. And so you'll see some words of encouragement during the program. Anybody who wants a copy of the program, all the slides, because I talk real fast, you can send me an email at lockealderson@gmail.com. I've seen some of the names of people who may have been here before. There are a few changes. I've tried to update the material to keep up with the times with LinkedIn since it was purchased by Microsoft a number of years ago. So let's get started. One of the verses that I like real much is blessed be the Lord, day after day he bears our burdens, from Psalm 68:19. And the burdens that we bear, those job hunting burdens that can be somewhat onerous at times and seem like that we're never going to get out of that valley. And so, but I will say that job hunting is like a lot of other relationships. There are two aspects of it too that we're going to deal with today. One of it is uh, getting found, which is what you want to do on LinkedIn, having your presence out there with your profile, and then opening up what you've done and how well you've done it. So those are the two things we're going to try and focus on today. LinkedIn, there we go. Why are you using LinkedIn is a question I want to ask each of you. I know it's a question that you want to do. If your goal is to be found by a recruiter or hiring manager doing a search for someone with your background, that's probably the number one goal that most of the people that are using the job hunting. It was started by sales and marketing people to keep in touch and exchange prospects. Well, recruiters quickly found out that there were people who were listing more than just their name and prospect. They were listing what's called a profile. And that profile, basically, for those of you new, is your online resume. And it's used by recruiters and hiring managers to find and source candidates, also to check you out online. One of the comments that somebody made about LinkedIn and its success has been an irreplaceable tool in my job search. The ability to show employers the exact experience and skills that I have on my profile has ultimately what got me the job. Having counseled people as a career consultant a number of times, changing their profile actually was what got them their profile, got the interview, which landed them the job. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about your profile and how to optimize your profile, and then talk about searching and how recruiters actually do searches, and then how some things that you can do for search, and then some items for you to take home and work on your profile with. So LinkedIn, it gives every profile a value on the content and your activity. So high scores move to the top of the recruiter's results when a search is performed. So question that I want to ask each of you, what does your LinkedIn profile attract? Does it attract hiring managers and recruiters' attention? Does it have that snap? That's something that they want to click through and see more about you, because first impressions are vitally important. So it all starts out with your profile. Here's an early version of my profile. You can notice I've got a headshot there, a photograph. And one thing I will tell about headshots, if you do a selfie, make sure that your background is clear and that you don't have glasses that reflect. If you notice today I'm wearing glasses. I do wear glasses, have since I was a teenager, but I took them off when my wife took that shot of me, and it's been used on as my headshot there. The background is of a cruise that I did in the Caribbean. You can use other things for your background part. Jeff has got a great one for him that lists his book and how to get in touch with him. Well, those are some of the things that you can do with your headline. But does your headline underneath your name, does it really address the needs of your consumer? You know, the hiring manager, the recruiter, does it address what they're looking for? Because that's what your goal is to be all about. So how long has it been since you've updated your profile? Again, that's a question you need to ask. You need to be updating it periodically. And I would say my recommendation is at least once a week, because you don't want your profile to look like an old rusty car because of neglect. Again, those tend to slide down in people's profile when they search. So there's a freshness guarantee that's involved. Basically, when you go to this grocery store, if you're like I am, I occasionally do the grocery shopping. I go through the produce section. I'm not looking at that apple, the red apple and the green apple section. I look at the best used by dates on the bagged salad occasionally. I don't get the old ones and so that they're not good. I also look at the best used by date by on milk and on the meat products as well, and also the canned goods and your baked goods as well. They all have that. So that's something that you want to keep in mind about your profile. It needs attention on a regular basis. Like a resume, your profile gets 6 to 10 seconds to get my attention. So what do you see? In addition to the background shot or the banner shot in the background, in this one, my headshot has got an open to work banner around to it. I've got my name. And again, about your name, if you have a long name or one that's difficult to pronounce, you may put the phonic pronunciation in parentheses. And I recommend that you use the name that you go by. My legal name is John Locke Alderson Jr., but there's also a John Locke Alderson Sr., my dad, and there's a John Locke Alderson III, my son. So you want to have what's current, make it easy for that recruiter or hiring manager when they pick up the phone or send you an email to address you as you will, to make it easy and a warm contact. So that's just some of the things that are there. And LinkedIn is a very powerful tool for networking and career management. So a strong LinkedIn profile will boost your career and help you to land the dream job that you want. The other things I can talk, your headline that's there underneath your name should be the job titles that you're looking for. Okay, if you don't happen to put a headline in there, LinkedIn will be gracious enough to do one for you. They'll choose the job title from the last position that you had. Okay, well, those are just some of the things that you can look at. Again, we're going to talk about open to work in a little bit. But one of the things that you also want to do, this is an old chart that used to appear on LinkedIn about star status. And where are you? Again, I've never achieved that all-star status, which is about 99%. But this is something that you want to achieve in terms of beginner. You can see the different ratings and what's involved in that. Okay, so those are some of the things that get you rankings when a search is performed toward the top of the ranking list. Ken? So you want to complete your profile to have it increase your LinkedIn rankings. Use the headshot and background or banner shot. The headline, use the job titles of the positions you're looking for. Use open to work. It's under your headline to list additional job titles, but you can also list in that you're open to relocation or looking for a location. The about section, it used to be called the summary. Okay. It's an overview of your career and should highlight your accomplishments. Okay. The contact information, I think, is vital and should appear on the first line of your about section, even if it's in several other places in your profile. Because if we're not direct connections, as first-degree connections, I may not be able to get in touch with you if I can't find your email address or your phone number. And even some people that I'm directly in contact with, as number ones, do not put their phone number and have their email address. One of those I've got to address when I talk to them later in the week. Okay, so that's just some of the things that are there. Skills from your profession and your endorsements, your education. Many times I look at education and it stops when somebody completed their degree. What have you done to keep up with your career, professional development, courses that you've taken, short courses or online things, and recommendations. Those can be kind of vital for you. In terms of those recommendations are like reference letters that they talk a little bit about you. Another verse from scripture that I like is a verse from Isaiah, from Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Well, those are just some of the things that I think are very important as I work through my day on different things. Another question that I'll ask you, if your headline is the only thing that somebody sees about you, what does it say? What does it tell about you? Does it tell who you are? Does it identify what you do and how well you do it, what you've accomplished? And is it a grabber that gets people's attention? So those are just some questions to think about as you consider your profile and how it stacks up. But one way that you can see how it stacks up is to do a comparison. This is something, that URL at the bottom down there, headlines.sharethrough.com. You can compare your headline with how it stacks up with others. Okay, by doing that, this is my old headline that I have. My old rating was 55% overall, 65 for engagement, and 55 for impression. When I made some changes to it, the overall score jumped 23 points. The engagement score only went up about 7 points. The impression score went up from 55 to 76, about 20 points. So it makes a difference, and you can check that out online. But let's take a look at some sample headlines. I've gathered these all together on one sheet, but most of them are ones that I've seen over the years on somebody's profile. Unemployed, retired, and seeking new opportunity, formerly VP of Finance. All are truthful statements, but again, don't put your best foot forward when you list those. Experienced digital design engineer is a little bit more descriptive of what somebody's areas are. And likewise, the social media strategist and content manager seeking a new opportunity. Using print and digital media, public relations, marketing, and corporate strategy. Again, one thing we'll mention about abbreviations like PR, some of which are widely known, others are not. So when you use those, if they're not widely known, spell it out the first time that you use it. Supply chain procurement and purchasing is not very descriptive, but again, it's very succinct, so somebody may click through on that one. Likewise, accountant, general ledger, accounts receivable, AR or AP, financial reporting and cost, executive assistant. If you do a search in the Dallas area of executive assistants, there's only about 45,000 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Budgeting and event planning tells a little bit more what that executive assistant is responsible for. IT project manager with ITIL, Scrum Master, and Agile. Again, some buzzwords that resonate with IT recruiters. General manager, manufacturing, aerospace. Again, a very narrow description of somebody. But again, the number of jobs in that field are pretty narrow. So what you can do is to add to that by additives, descriptive titles, and value that you bring, and examples. Well, let's take a look at some other headlines. Senior accountant with increased productivity in highly regulated industries. So that tells a little bit more that they've worked in things like public utilities, like electric companies, gas companies, water companies, also telecommunications companies that are regulated. Again, specializing in expansive international business in aerospace. Pretty definitive of what the guy does. Customer relations manager raised satisfaction scores by 30%. Means somebody who really understands a little bit about customer relations. Again, that project manager, delivery of projects on time and explain high tech to customers. Vital things to having success in IT projects. Business analyst, able to bridge the gap between techies and management or between techies and the customer. One other thing, that full stack applications developer. There are some other descriptive headlines. System analyst in healthcare. Use digital indices or indexes to reduce hospital administration paperwork by 54%. If you've ever gone to the emergency room or checked into the hospital, you know how much paperwork they have to fill out on you when you go through admissions. Well, these are just some headlines, samples that are there to give you some ideas. Again, focusing again on another verse of scripture, which I like. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Let your hearts not be troubled, neither let them be afraid. From John's Gospel, chapter 14, verse 27. Thanks somebody for the little heart. That was encouraging to me. So why do you use open to work? Some people have asked me that. I don't want that green banner like the Kentucky Derby winner had a bouquet of roses around their neck when they won. Sometimes people say, I don't like that. It indicated that I'm desperate. Well, if you're out of work, you're not alone, believe me. And look at the people that are on this call. A lot of you are not working at the present time. One of the only reasons for not leaving it is perhaps if you're at the executive level or if you're in a stealth mode in terms of your job search. You don't want your current employer to know that you're looking. But the open to work allows you to list the different areas, and let's take a look at that. You can list the titles that you're open to, and the titles, if they're not in LinkedIn's library, won't let you add them. I noted this was for me, executive recruiter, professional recruiter. I started to add career. You can notice specialist, coach, counselor. It has some artificial intelligence on their drop-down menus. But workplaces, on-site, hybrid, meaning off-site, or remote, or hybrid, meaning between the two. And locations, you can list in a number of locations. It's particularly important if you're looking to move or open to relocation to another area. And what is your status in terms of looking for a job? I'm looking immediately or I'm just kicking tires. Okay, gives the recruiter, because recruiters like low-hanging fruit. People that are actively looking are more apt to listen to their pitch. I know because I used to give that pitch. Okay, another thing that you need to be aware of is your analytics homepage. Are you looking at it? What's going on? Because as you note there, the 101 is the profile views that you've had in the last 90 days. The post impressions, what's happened in the last 7 days? Has your profile come up in that number of times? How many followers do you have online? Okay. And lastly, how many search appearances have you had in the past week? Again, some statistics about how well you're doing with your profile online. Another area that you can have is your features section to display examples of your work. Whether those examples are your resume, your reel, or your presentations. Come on. These are my presentations. I updated that as of last fall. You can see the different things I speak on. But you can have a reel. My son is a motion graphic designer down in Austin. He's got samples of his work going about I think it's about a 30-second reel that shows some of the things that he's designed. But you can have, if you're in advertising, you can have a portfolio of projects that you've had. There's a number of ways somebody might publicize their book here is another way of doing it. Well, let's move on to talk about the about section, your summary. This one is a little bit longer than normal. I normally would recommend, and most of the people I know, have your sections be 4 to 5 lines and then a break and a paragraph. This one's a little bit longer, but it's extremely well written. Again, notice that he's using financial planning and analysis, the FP&A. Most recruiters in accounting and finance know what FP&A is, but somebody who's not in that field may not know what it is. So the first time that you use an acronym, spell it out like that. Your contact information is on the first line here as well. Again, that's something that you want to have. Make it easy for that recruiter or hiring managers to get in touch with you. That's vital if you're going to do that. Now let's take a look at some other sample summaries. I mentioned using averages. One of the things that LinkedIn has changed over the years is going to first person as opposed to necessarily third person. I typically still write in third person. I usually don't talk about myself. I am grateful. I am a strategic, creative, hands-on marketer. But again, these are descriptive things that you can talk about. Notice the first one, that first example also lists their areas of expertise in executive coaching and leadership development or training. They also talk about key competencies. It's a way to put some of those things out. And some of the companies that they've worked for with Disney World. But these are just some ideas about your summary that you can have. Moving right along, I want to talk about your experience section. Again, you want to have your job title, your company names and dates. If you have a company that's a little bit unusual, you might want to have a one-line description of what they do. I know when I came back to Texas, that example I mentioned, I was with a company called MasTec, which was a spin-out from Texas Instruments. At the time I joined them, when they were the world's leading producer of random access memories for computers. They were sold to United Technologies in '93. I just happened to see that on the way to the airport a couple of weeks ago, the remnant of that particular company, which is STS. It's a French company, something Thompson. I can't remember the name of it, but Thompson was the French company that bought it from United Technologies. But you also notice there bulleted areas of accomplishments. The icon for Oracle was picked up by LinkedIn. I didn't include it myself, but notice I have senior recruiter, the dates, and again, I think LinkedIn is going to month and year dates are being required now, which is a new change within the last couple of weeks. And location, the description of my duties is 3.5 lines, which is a good description. And then I included a recommendation letter from my former director of recruiting, Amanda Gill at Oracle Corporation. I was one of about 50 recruiters that reported to her. And that was a nice way to put that in. But again, having those kinds of things, hiring managers are interested in, they give descriptive information and how well you've done that description. Okay. The other thing that you can do is you can add some accomplishments. Well, twice I was recruiter of the quarter from among those 50 recruiters, okay, for the most hires in that particular quarter. And I was selected from that group of 50 recruiters to attend the annual consulting organization club conference in Nassau in the Bahamas. I got to take my wife with me, and she was thrilled as well. But again, that's the kind of thing that you can include that shows what you've done with your experience. The other thing that you can do on your profile now is to add a section, and particularly important if you're not working at the present time. You want to add position that you're job hunting. You can also add your positions for your volunteer experience and projects. When I wrote my profile originally, I included my volunteer experience. They didn't have that section available to you. So let's take a look at one for the out of work, what you need to have, because if you are not working, that counts. Those points don't count for you having a current job on LinkedIn search. This is just a form that you can use. Notice that I put a title, the software applications developer, looking for full-time employment, the kinds of company rather than company, put industry, looking at financial service. It could easily be telecommunications or aerospace and defense. And location, you can put locations there as well. But that gives information about you, and again, counts toward the point totals that you're looking to gather on LinkedIn when searches are performed. You can also add a project section. This is one I just genned one up as program manager for the Staffing Management Association here in Dallas. And did that. I arranged for the speaker every other month for about, I guess it was about 4 years that I did that. But it gives some idea of the scope that you've been involved with. And when I was a recruiter for Oracle and with Siebel, I used to get resumes from people who'd worked in the IT industry as consultants. and they would frequently have a page devoted to every project that they'd ever worked on, describing what they'd done, how big it was, the equipment they'd worked on, the software, etc. So those are things that you can do, including a project section. The next area we want to talk about is your skills and endorsements, because this is something that the recruiters look for. They typically look for job titles, and they tend to look for skills. So one of the things that you can do used to be that LinkedIn would choose the skills for you. It used to be 50. They upped it when Microsoft purchased it to 100. But the areas that you can see there, LinkedIn will choose to, if you don't choose your skills, LinkedIn will choose 2 or 3 for you. So how do you go about changing that for your skills? Well, one, you may even have questions about your skills. Where do I go out and find out about my skills? Well, this is a source that you can do this. GitHub, LinkedIn, GitHub, Career Explorer, Explore. And if you go down to that skip ahead by clicking that, it will do that. They have about 150 job titles and shows the different areas of expertise that somebody might have, different skills that they might have, and how they rate in that particular job. So you can click ahead like that as a way to discover some of your skills. But are your skills organized for maximum impact? Again, if you haven't chosen your skills, they probably aren't. So let's take a look at that. And how do we go about changing that? Well, first thing you want to take that pencil, click on the pencil, and when you do that, you can reorder your skills. Right? Clicking on the pencil, the next screen that will come up is the 3 dots. If you click on the 3 dots, it will allow you to go to a screen that says reorder your skills. Okay? And when you click on the 3 dots for reordering your skills, you can place your cursor on the 4 lines to the right there and drag and drop the skills that you want toward the top. And again, this is one way to refresh your profile every week. You can go in and reorder those. But if you have recruiting or career consulting as the top 2, whereas the ones I might want to be looking for are executive search, talent acquisition, and career consulting. Well, there are others that you can do in that way, that you can rearrange those at your will. The other thing that you want to do, and I'll mention that for you, is you might not have thought about this, but look at other people's profile. What you can do is do a search for yourself. Put in your job title, and I put in recruiter, Dallas-Fort Worth area. At the time that I did that, there were about 26,500 people with recruiter in their profile in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay, that's not all your competition, but there are that many in the area. Since that time, that number has probably grown to close to 40,000. But do a search for yourself. If you don't appear in the first 10 screens, that's 100 thumbnail sketches, as you see. Those are thumbnail sketches there on the screen. If you aren't appearing in that, you're probably not going to appear in a search when a recruiter or hiring manager conducts a search. So how do you go about changing it? Well, the easy way to do it is to pop open their profile. This just happens to be one that I selected, and find out how many times recruiter appears there. Well, she's got it in her headline, she's got it into her open to work, and she's got it in her about section as well. But those are the areas that the computer looks for to rank you up in that. So now we want to switch gears a little bit and how to take a look at searching for jobs on LinkedIn. So how are searches run on LinkedIn? You kind of need to know about that. And how to recruiter search, there are some slight differences. And what are some recruiter research results? And then how do you go about looking for jobs? Okay. So what do recruiters really search for? Well, as I mentioned already, they tend to look for a match of job titles. And those job titles for you are found in your headline, your open to work section, your about and employment sections, both present and past job titles. They also look for keywords and skills. Those are the key ones that I would advocate. And I say that having spent 40 years as a recruiter looking at resumes, things that I would look for in a resume when I was looking for candidates. Right? They also look at specific industries. There are some companies, if you don't have experience in healthcare and it doesn't show up in your profile, you may not be considered for a job in healthcare. So specific companies and industries are important sometimes. Your education and geographic location. I know I was considered for a position here in Dallas with a consumer products company. They were looking for a recruiter with a recruiting manager who'd been to one of the top 10 business schools in the country. Well, I happened to get my bachelor's degree at University of California at Berkeley, and depending upon whose survey of schools you look at, it usually ranks in the top 10. Current and prior companies and your length of service. That length of service is not as critical as it used to be, Because it used to be if you had been in a company 1 or 2 years and changed jobs, then you were considered a job hopper. It's not as critical anymore because of things like the economy changes and COVID. But people tend to look at your current and prior companies. They look at your pedigree. Who have you worked for? They also look at your summary. Then they look at your summary and experience. So remember, the first screening is looking at job title and skills, and then they scroll on down in terms of the match. So let's take a look at what are we looking for. The next step, then they look at the headline. Does it have the keywords that appear in the job posting? The about section. Does your about section offer a concise overview of your experience, your expertise, and your achievements? It's a question to ask yourself. Does your experience focus on your job and duties? Most of the resumes as a recruiter I've read over the years, probably over 2 million, probably 90% of them simply focused on somebody's duties and responsibilities. What did they do? Or does it show the accomplishments performing those duties and responsibilities? Because one of the things that does is that shows that by doing these things, this is what I've done for my prior employers, and the implication is that's what I could do for you. The activities and posts on LinkedIn, okay? Does it reflect your expertise? Are you commenting on somebody else's blog or posting? Occasionally I will do. I see one that says it's, and sometimes I'll write a lengthy comment on it because it's really germane. Okay. Come on. Here we go. How does the LinkedIn search algorithm work? Well, you receive a score for each section of your profile, as well as for your activity on LinkedIn. Whether you're just going in and looking for a job, or you're posting something, or you're commenting on somebody else's, you're making changes to your profile. Your ranking in searches is based on the sum of these values, and the higher scores appear at the top of the list of results based on the qualifications. Pretty straightforward. Again, that's what happened. But let's take a look at the input sheet. This is from somebody else. This is for LinkedIn. LinkedIn also sells licenses for recruiters. Those are recruiter packets. It's usually purchased by those in executive search. It runs $10,000 per year per seat. Those who don't want the full package, which offers them worldwide access, can access or can purchase Recruiter Lite, which is only $5,000 per seat per year. Okay, but at the time that this was done, there were 710 million people in LinkedIn. Now there are over 1 billion people in LinkedIn worldwide, and about 180 million of those in the United States. But this is a search doc. This is an entry search document. You notice over here at the left, job title, location, skills and assertions, companies that they work for, schools, data graduation. This can narrow about 700 million people on this particular search, can narrow it down to perhaps 70 within 30 seconds. Yes, the computers really do work that fast. Just think about artificial intelligence these days. So let's take a look at an actual result of our search. This was for a search for a product manager in Seattle. Again, they would consider somebody from this down the coast in San Francisco area. They were looking for product management and product marketing. Frequently, those two job titles were intertwined, and they would consider companies in the Seattle area like Amazon or Fluke or Microsoft, and the schools, they just happened to list University of Washington, which is there in Seattle. But that particular search had 6,900 candidates available, and 2,500 of them were had company connections. They were following the company and engaged in the company's brand. They were really interested in the company, wanted the information, and got that on a regular basis. Here's another search for a project manager in Chicago. Again, notice they were considered from either coast as well, New York or San Francisco, but they wanted somebody who knew something about analytics and the other criteria that are over here on the left. Where's my arrow? There it is. Okay. And they were looking for somebody from a high-tech company like Google or Facebook. That would be Meta or Evernote or LinkedIn. And Northwestern is a school just north of Chicago. This particular one drew 40,000, almost 43,000. But notice up here, at the time that this search, which is unusual for a very tight labor market, again, only 43% were open, 83 were open to new opportunities, open to work. Again, a number of them had connections with the company or were following their brand. Those are different ways that you can do that. Again, the recruiter is probably going to focus on that 83 as a starting point to take a look at those first. So let's take a look at searching for jobs. You can do it a couple of ways on LinkedIn. You can use the big search box as you see there, or you can go over into the briefcase, which is the portfolio of looking for jobs there. I happen to choose the example is based on using the briefcase there. Allows you to enter the job title or a company name and search location. The first time you do a search, if you don't put in a search location, it's going to default to the United States. And once you've done some searches, it usually defaults to the area that you previously used. Okay. That's just an idea of how you go about searching. Well, let's take a look at some actual searches that I've done, which are pretty good examples. This one was for a search for a sales representative because somebody had not put anything in. It defaulted to the United States and brought back 197,000 candidates. That's far too big a search for any talented recruiter to go with. So they would probably refine the search using other criteria, some filters, if you will. This next search is for a senior accountant, again in the Plano, Texas. The default setting there is 25 miles. And most job boards, that's the default setting. And that's simply because you as an applicant have taught recruiters and job boards, I don't want to drive more than 20 to 25 miles to work. So that's the default setting. That's usually the area that recruiters limit it to, that they're limited to candidates within that radius to look for jobs. And that's why it's there, 25 miles. Okay. The next one I did for a American Quality Assurance local meeting, a Zoom meeting a couple of years ago. I entered the word quality assurance just to put what that's in there, not a job title specifically, and it brought back almost 2,000 results. Again, most of the people in the meeting were not inspectors; they were managers or senior individual contributors. So we put some refinement on that search, quality assurance, and added the word manager, and it dropped it by almost 90%, a little over 90% in the area. And that's something that you can do as you do use additional filters. Notice another filter that's there is the past week. I recommend if you're if your job is in a criteria that's widely sought, you're probably going to want limit your search to, limit your criteria to jobs that have been open only a week, because jobs that have been open longer than that typically are filled or they've got more than enough candidates to deal with. If you have an unusual job title and you have an unusual background, you may go out further to a month or so on looking for jobs. This one was for an executive recruiter. I started to type in Dallas. Notice there are several selections: Dallas-Fort Worth area, Dallas, Texas proper, Dallas County. There's also a Dallas, Georgia, and a Dallas, Oregon. So you need to be specific about that as you enter that information. Another thing I'd like to talk about before we leave that is that there are jobs available on LinkedIn that do not appear on their jobs board. And yeah, that's right. And they appear in groups. By clicking on that jobs at the top, that drop-down menu, and go to groups, and you can open the groups up. You notice here's some for HR kind of jobs. But each of these professional associations will typically have, because it's a limited group or an affinity group generally, they'll look for people in the group or have a like background. So when jobs are posted, they're typically addressing the people in the group that have like backgrounds. But these jobs do not appear on LinkedIn. It doesn't cost money to post. I think it's about $250 to post a job on LinkedIn today. But that's another source of jobs that you may not be aware of. But here are some of the filters. This is an old slide shot that are available on LinkedIn. These do not appear all at one time on LinkedIn. I don't know why they've limited that, because these are some of the filters that are available. But notice for a recruiter in Dallas, when this search was, if you do that search, there are about 2,100 jobs that were posted. Again, some of those may be because the person who posted the job had failed to take it down. Or occasionally recruiters will leave jobs up. They're called what's called bucket jobs because they're always looking for somebody with that background. So I mentioned the past week or the past 24 hours. It narrows that search of 20, almost 2,100 down to 635. You have job types over there on the lower left. Most jobs are permanent full-time positions, but there are other jobs for interns, part-time, contract, temp, and even volunteer positions available. Something that LinkedIn picked up from Indeed.com was a salary estimate. Again, this is not the absolute best predictor of salaries, but does give you some indication of what the jobs pay. Okay. Certain states are now requiring the salary range be posted on the job posting itself. Those states are New York, California, and Massachusetts. The other thing I'll touch base on, I haven't put an arrow there, is under the easy apply. If you see that easy apply on a button, you can apply on that directly to the job. But unless it allows you to upload a current tailored resume, yes, tailored resume, meaning it's a little bit customized for the job. The job title matches the job title on the posting. Those are the kind of tailorings I mentioned. Otherwise, it will simply take your profile and use that as your resume for when applying for that job. So that's something to consider. You can also, by company, you can list the company search. So if you want to narrow your search down to the consulting firm of Deloitte, that's one way to do it. Or Medical City Healthcare. There are a number of Medical City hospitals here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And locationally, if I live in Plano, I may not want to drive all the way out to Irving for a job. I know I did do that when I worked for Oracle Corporation and for Siebel. They were out in Irving. When I went to Oracle Corporation, they allowed me to work from home. But those are some of the filters that are available to you. Not all of them will appear every time that you do a job search. Another thing that you have available to you is you can create job alerts. When you do a search, as I did for this recruiter, there's a radio button there, job alert on or off. If you click it on, it gives you the choice of daily or weekly that you'll be receiving notices. And those notices usually come in between 7 and 8 in the morning. And you can see the one at the bottom. And that's something that you can consider as well to make it easy for you. You don't have to create new searches all the time. Well, let's wrap up this section and take a look at just some summary things. Again, I'll repeat, refresh your resume or your profile at least once a week. And do complete all the sections of your profile. And use the name that you normally use. Make it easy for that recruiter or hiring manager to know who to talk to. The headline, you can list job titles for the positions that you're looking for. And if you don't, again, just to repeat, LinkedIn will be kind enough to include your last job title in your last job. Do use the open to work section. And do include your phone number and email in the first line of your about section. It may be in other sections. It may also be at the bottom of your about section, but make sure it's there. Make it easy for them to contact. And do go through and choose 2 or 3 top skills in your skills section. Jeff, I'm going to turn it back to you, and maybe we can have time to look at some profiles.
Yeah, would they like if you'd like for us to look at your profile, just stick your name in the chat window, and we will do that. Doris asked a question: what does refresh mean? When you talk about does open to work lead to more scams?
In the end, the question about refreshing means going in and doing something on your profile on a regular basis. Okay, and that may be adding a comma or taking out a comma. It usually should be a little bit more substantial than that. Okay, let me go here to. Is my LinkedIn up?
Not yet.
I'm trying to get that, Jeff. I don't know what I'm doing wrong again, but
Share and then just pick your screen. There we go.
okay.
There we go. All right, the first person who popped the name up, it was Bill Allen. You need 2 L's for Bill.
Oh,
Close. There we go. Very first one
this
there, I
one?
think.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at Bill. One of the things that's here, view the first profile. And I'm going to, okay.
Go down 2 more. Go back to the other screen.
Oh, wrong Bill Allen. Okay.
Which one, Bill?
Right, 1 more. Outside silk. There you go.
Okay. Okay, first thing, Bill, is a second-degree connection for me. So the first thing I'm going to look at is, can I reach out and touch Bill? No, I can't reach through his contact information. The other thing I'll take a look at is to scroll down and look at his about section. So that's usually the area that somebody else has their connections. Okay. He has it buried in here. One of the first things I do, Bill, is I take it from right here and move it to the top line. Okay. Even a carriage return, leaving a blank line after it. Okay. And it may be something like let's connect and your email address and your phone number. You don't have to put mobile or text. Again, that's pretty straightforward as well. Again, one of the things that I could say outside sales professional, sports and halftime announcer. Again, that's not a very descriptive headline. You've used about 60 characters. You have about 220 to play with. Okay. Open to work. You haven't listed any job title. What are the titles that you look for when you look for a job? Those are the kind of things that you want to put up there because those are the ones that are searched for. Sports announcer, again, that's a very narrow professional field. If that's what you're looking for outside professional sales, what kind of industry? Have you worked in automotive? Have you worked in consumer packaged goods? Have you worked in food and beverage or hospitality? Again, describe what you're looking for. Make it easy for that recruiter to take another look. Pique their curiosity. Put something like there used to be in women's magazines a scratch and sniff for perfumes. And then what they were trying to do is get you to scratch and sniff. If you like the fragrance, you would possibly stop by Macy's and buy a bottle of that for your spouse. Right? So those are just some things that I can observe right away. Let's scroll down. One other thing I mentioned about skills. Okay. Volunteer experience. Notice he's got a separate section, which is great. I'll try not to touch the screen because it's very sensitive. Okay. He's got a project management and product demonstration. Outside sales and project management don't seem to resonate together to me. Okay, you've got 72 skills. So what are the top two that you want up there? Okay, product demonstration might be good if you've been in a situation where you're selling and doing a lot of product demonstration. Okay, aerospace industries, you may be oil and gas industry. What are you looking for? What do you want to do? Okay, those are the things that should be your top ones to get my curiosity to click further. Okay, so that's just some quick feedback for you, Bill. Okay. The other thing I'll mention too, and Jeff, come on. Is this connect section. When you use that, again, when you do that, you want to add a note. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm just going to send Bill connect without a note. But do send, hey, we met each other at a meeting, or you were on the same presentation I was. Would like to connect. But that's a way to add to your network. Okay. But you need to work on your headline. You need to work on your about to work section, open to work section. Somebody else, Jeff.
All right. The next name on here is Chandra, Shandra. Thomas. There we go. First one.
Well, Shannon and I are first degree connections, but I'm going to cheat and take a look at her contact information. She's got her email address and a phone number, okay, which is great. The next thing I want to look at, image review processor, administrative support assistant. What are some of the other jobs that you apply for? Okay, you need to list those. You've used about 50 characters, maybe 50 characters. You have 220 to play with. And you open to work, you're only open to Garland on-site or remote, okay? The details, does it show any more to you? You've got some other job titles that are teaching assistant. Those titles should also appear up there because somebody may not click on your open to work like I've just done. Make it easy for them to contact you to know what your background is.
Okay.
Okay.
So add those titles into my
Into your headline, under your name.
okay, gotcha. I would definitely do that afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, that headline underneath your name is the second most powerful search terms that LinkedIn uses. So it's worth having them there. And if there are other job titles that are similar, whoop, you've gotten really small there. Yeah, okay.
Going, I went too wild. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Control minus and a control plus. Now let's see if we can.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Other thing I have, you got a good headline background up there. You've got your contact information there as well. Administrative support, again, image review. What are some other titles that you could play with? Looking good for that headline is attractive and is a grabber kind of thing. Okay. The
Okay.
about section, again, you want to have those maybe 3 to 5 lines and then a page break. And
Okay.
if you're going to have your contact information there, I'd put it in front of the top line and then let's connect with the contact information. You don't have to put a phone number there. There are people that are a little bit leery about listing their phone number. You can get a Google phone number. Don't ask, but query Google and they'll tell you how to do it. Okay. But again, those are some of the things. Some of those could be highlighted as bulleted type items, like type up to 60 words a minute and 7,000 keystrokes per hour. Okay, those are impressive statistics. Again, they aren't that quite that much because I can't type at 50, 60 words per minute. With 2 fingers, I'm pretty good at about 40. Okay. Okay, looking again at her skills area, she's taken some licenses and certifications from LinkedIn. Those are available to you that you could do and take. You have to pass, I think, with a 70, or you can take it one more time. Otherwise, you have to wait 6 months after that. Okay. Her skills, written communications and on data online. If those are the ones you want, you have 100 skills listed. I would tend to choose ones that support what you've done. Okay. Written communications, administrative processes, time management. There's some others that you can go in and periodically change those. Remember I mentioned go to the pencil, click on the 3 dots, and then the 3 dots, revise your order, and then hold your cursor over here on the 4 lines, and you can drag and drop them down the ones that you want. Just a suggestion.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, somebody else, Jeff. We're
Okay,
time for maybe
we've got
one or
time.
two.
We'll do one more here. Let's go, Kelly Thompson. Or Thomas. I'm sorry, just Thomas. Nope, you gotta,
I know I'm not a typist, Jeff.
I know, neither am I.
Okay, let's see the results. Kelly, do you see yourself up there?
Which one are you? You're muted, so we can't hear you. Hold down the space bar.
Here we go.
There you go.
The HR business partner, the second one down. Yes.
Okay. We're second degree connections. I'm going to find out. I don't know how to get hold. Oh, she's got an email address. That's a good start. Okay. And you can do those. You can list those over there in your connections by going to your security settings. I won't take time to talk about that right now. Okay. You've used HR business partner, accountability engagement. Again, some of the things that you have done, multi-site field organizations, and what kind of multi-site field organizations? Is it retail or is it sales? Again, amplify that as well. But you've used about 60 characters. You have 220 to play with. Okay.
Okay.
Your about section, she's got her email listed there. That's her, would appear to be her preferred way to be contacted is through her email. You might also list a phone number up there to make it real easy. Okay. The about skill, our skills are, come on. Screen is going wild on me again today. Okay. Performance management, leadership development, and coaching, employee relations. Not to be egotistical, Kelly, you might want to take a look at mine because my background in addition to recruiting include a lot of HR activities.
Okay.
It gives you some ideas about that rather than take a look at that. Okay, see more. In the about section, you have 2,000 characters that you get to play with. Okay. And what are some things that are there? She's gotten her HRCI and LinkedIn certifications as a business partner, which is great. Keeping up with her skills. She's known something about generative AI tools and how they're used today in recruiting and in HR. Those are vitally important. Okay. Okay. One thing that you Okay, you're through March, so you recently stopped a job. I would go ahead and list another job, HR professional, HR business partner seeking an opportunity in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. On that added sheet, when you go in and add an experience sheet, okay? As well. She's got some certifications, which is great. Volunteer activity, career transition consultant and coach. And recommendations, skills consulting and leadership development coaching. Again, of the 79 skills, are those the two that you want to prefer? Because people are not going to necessarily look through it. So leadership development would definitely be one. Employee relations is a higher on the list. Organization development, if that's an area of your interest and experience, would be one that I would include as one of the top ones.
Okay.
There are other HR titles that you can add to that. HR business partners. Notice I don't see that in the list that as I went through. Again, LinkedIn does limit to what you could do if it's not in their list of titles. It won't let you use one.
Right.
Okay.
I do have a question. There's similar titles besides HR business partner, such as HR manager. What
The
I'm
scope on the HR business manager is usually somebody who is working on somebody else's staff. Like I was a recruiter, but also a business partner for one of my assigned organizations. I regularly attended that vice president's staff meetings. So I was a business partner to offer advice. Not that I could offer a lot of advice, but sometimes would ask for advice. Okay. Again, that's the HR manager is typically a functional type thing where you're functional for the people that are reporting to you in its operation. That's the major distinction in my mind.
I do not want to have direct reports. I like to be an individual contributor.
Well, then HR business partner would be the one, or HR manager would not be the one that I would put
Okay.
on your skills list. Okay. The other things that you can do are leadership development. What are some of the job titles that you look for? What are some of the titles that you can also include in there?
I've just been looking for HR business partner, and there's quite a few out there. But I've heard
career
HR
coach.
manager. I've heard an HR manager, but in that, most of them have direct reports.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
I had those twice in my career, I think, direct reports.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the rest of the time, I was a very senior level individual contributor. Jeff, it's back to you. I think we're about on top of the hour.
Yes, we are. Well, thank you very much. There is
Thank
a
you.
question George is asking about any thoughts on LinkedIn social selling index tool. The only one of our speakers who talk about that is Terry Sullivan. And I like what Polly put down some good comments saying, I look at mine pretty often to see improvement. So, I think LinkedIn's giving you a way to judge how powerful your LinkedIn profile is. So I think by, looking at it once a week and sort of keeping track, am I doing better? Am I getting things, getting things better online? I think that's what's going to help and will allow you to show what you're doing a little bit better. So if you want to get the Locke slide deck, just send an email to Alderson@gmail.com. Tell him you saw you here today and you'd like to get the copy of his deck. He'll be glad to send it to you. Next week, our speaker is going to be Kurt Vondermatter. He's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. He's a professional and active search executive trying to find you, and he'll talk about what stands out for him when he's trying to find you. And I think just recently he bought back. He used to have the full-blown recruiting package, and then when things got slow, he stopped it, and now he's picked back up the Recruiter Lite package. So I think he'll probably share and be able to see what that package looks like. Tomorrow, Wednesday, the practice interview team is meeting in person They meet in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesday. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, come join them. You can watch an interview. They'll have 3 different people being interviewed. You can pick the interview you want. It's a great way to watch other people being interviewed. On the 4th Wednesday of the month, they do it online only, so that way anyone around the United States can watch a practice interview. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, 9:30 Friday morning, Stress Less, Live More with PJ Dunn. If you've never heard PJ speak before, he's a really good speaker. He does I think his specialty is core competencies using strength finders. How do you fit in with a group and a team? PJ always gives a great presentation. You're welcome to come join us either in person or join us on Zoom. You're welcome to join the Career DFW or CareerUSA.org LinkedIn groups. I started each when I started the websites. We've got over 16,000 members. We're about to hit 16,300. When I look today, we're at 16,298. So if 2 of y'all haven't joined, we'll hit the 16.3 mark. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel. That way you'll find out about any new videos as they get posted. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. Every video I post goes into one of 7 different playlists. And if you'll click, instead of clicking on the video screens you see there at the very bottom, you see the red arrow. Click on View Full Playlist, and up will come a list of all these dates and speakers and their topics in chronological order, and you can go back and watch any video you want at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, you can just scan this QR code and send a blank email, or just send a blank email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed because I control the list. We only put out a couple emails a week. So feel free that way. When you do that, you'll get a copy of all the links with the upcoming videos, the presentations that are going on that week. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers are volunteers. Locke is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 17 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Locke, thank you very much. Everybody else, have a great week and hope to see you either tomorrow at the Pit Crew or Friday at the North Dallas Crew.
Thank you.